This week on Phantom Power Hour. Their sound has changed over the years.
I had a buddy who was, and I always picked his brain to be like, how do you do it? Because he was actually pretty well known. That's an interesting thought. I don't think I've ever tried to put a finger on what that actually is. Man, we got down a metal rabbit hole, didn't we?
We did. I don't know what we could talk about news-wise other than the fact that we're all old and Dookie is celebrating its 30th anniversary.
Oh my god. Time of your life.
Were you
on that record, though,
were
was
you
it?
I don't know. Were you big into Green Day when it was
As
airwaves?
big as a middle schooler could be, I suppose.
I didn't start listening to Green Day until I started teaching guitar.
You didn't miss much.
I mean, it's a whole era, you know.
Oh, for sure.
It's a style. It really kind of makes you appreciate what can be created with just the most simplicity. Like, some of their songs had some cool, trickier bits, but, I mean, like, you got power chords and you're using 1, 4, and 5, and sometimes a 6 chord.
What is it, the punk T?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
the
exactly.
T-shape?
Yeah. But they got so many hits, and I don't know, you can't hate on it for having such a huge fan base and
Oh, absolutely not. It's just I feel like it's so played out. That's why I feel like I have a little bit of the internal eye roll with it.
For sure.
But
Yeah.
I was really into it in the moment. So I think I'm rolling my eyes at myself.
What, in that community, was there do you have to be a Green Day guy or a Blink-182 guy? Were you allowed to like them both?
I was trying to remember that. There seemed like a juxtaposition, but there was never it never seemed like you would rumble with anybody over it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that was the beauty of pop punk. Let everybody be everybody.
Let everybody be everybody. We have matchy caffeines.
Cheers. Boop. I like the citrus one.
It's pretty good, yeah. Not a sponsor.
Yet. Wink.
I know that you and I have talked about this just privately a few times, but what was your kind of metal influence during those early years? Because I know you're a huge fan of Circus Survive. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that would be... Is that kind of the pinnacle of it all, or did you find yourself listening to that after you were introduced with other groups?
I think when I started to play guitar, it was Metallica.
Yeah?
Was the thing. I had every Metallica record.
What was your favorite Metallica record at that time?
Probably the Black Album or Fuel.
Yeah, Fuel gets overlooked, I feel like.
Yeah, what was it? There were the Fuel and Refuel. Were those two different records?
I believe so. And then what was their first one? Ride the Lightning?
Kill 'Em All.
Kill 'Em All.
Right? Was that the first one?
Yes. Had the hammer on the cover. That was my introduction to Metallica.
So the early stuff.
The thrashier side of Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then actually I think the first thing that really got me into it was their S&M record, the Symphony record. That was cool. That was really dope, and I feel like people are still kind of reproducing that. Even the Architects doing their thing with the London Symphony. Mm-hmm. That is.
Did you ever listen to Symphony X?
A little. Wait, Symphony X. Is that the 5 cello players?
No. So Symphony X, I have to show you some real quick. It was part of my introduction into metal. One of those bands that I found along the way after I had an ear for it. And I convinced my grandma to buy me this album because it had an angel on it, and it had symphony in the title. So great marketing plan for that band to be able to convince your family to buy it for you. But each album had at least one really cool symphonic but metal crossover tune.
Well, that's okay.
But this whole album, so Symphony X, Paradise Lost, is one of those albums. In the last episode, you brought up this idea of there was an era where albums were made to listen to from start to finish in consecutive order. that's one of those albums where they have the crossfade at the end of the tracks, similar chord progressions or tonalities or something to link them together. Very good. Very good. But that was part of my metal introduction after I started playing Guitar Hero 2.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, that introduced me to so much new music I hadn't been exposed to at that time.
It's the Symphony X. Did you listen to Group X?
Group X. Why does that sound?
55.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what'd you do today, idiot? Nothing. I got a Super 88 system from Chunky for $5. Oh, yeah, man. I forgot that's what they were called.
Johnny Poo Poo Bands?
Hey, baby, I can count all the way to 55 before you could say poop the pants.
1, 2, 14, 13.
2.5. Yeah, man. Yeah. That was the Wild West of YouTube, man.
It was something.
An E-Bombs world.
Oh, yeah. That was before YouTube. How the good old days.
The good old days of Badger.
Oh, yeah.
That
actually popped up on my feed this morning.
No way.
My daughter looked at it. She's like, what is that? I was like, you don't ask. So, okay, Symphony X for you.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into kind of the metal stuff that you listen to now?
That I listen to now? Man, that's a good question, because I feel like I am both more critical of the music that I listen to and less critical. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of musicians go through this point where you don't enjoy music the same way anymore because you're hearing so many different things go on.
Yeah.
Like specifically college days, you're going through theory classes, and part of your required literature is listening through these classical compositions and then thinking about like the form of the sonata or what kind of perfect authentic cadence is happening where and all that kind of stuff. So you start hearing these in real time when you're listening, and that crosses over into everything. So I definitely went through a period of not enjoying music unless it ticked all these boxes in my head of what makes music good. Mm-hmm. And that's not a fun place to be. But since then, there's still a little bit of that in terms of just what I want to hear. But there's a lot more of hitting the shuffle button and like willingly not paying attention to who it is or what I'm supposed to think about it. Like, I don't care what subgenre of jazz or metal or anything else it is. I just want to hear something that it provokes some kind of intrigue or something, whether that's just something that has like a heavy bop to it and they're just chugging a drop C, or really mathy, riffy harmonies and all that kind of stuff. But I guess to answer the question, what got me into the metal I'm listening to now, I think Slipknot was a really huge hinge point in my appreciation for metal. It was not the first metal band that I got into, but that's kind of where all of my different musical interests kind of coagulated.
Who did you say, sorry?
Slipknot.
Okay.
It all kind of coagulated at the end of my high school time. It was a weird time of like a strict dichotomy in what I listened to. I was either listening to the old Cotton Club recordings of Duke Ellington and listening to like the 4 or 5 versions of the songs that they would play each week, or I was falling asleep to Slipknot and Korn and Avenged Sevenfold. But Slipknot always stuck with me throughout the time, and I think a lot of it was because of the complexity and layers. It's not that everybody is always doing something technically difficult or really fancy or anything, but from the production side and even the songwriting side, I've always really appreciated their flavor, just kind of the voice that they have with all their recordings, and they kept evolving over time. Yeah. Which kept me hooked with them. They weren't afraid to try out new ideas and to push the boundaries, and because of that I got into Stone Sour as well and some of the other kind of sister projects they had. But
Slipknot always felt like restraint and chaos type of thing, where you would learn maybe it's not always cool for everybody to be showy all the time, constantly.
Yeah.
And they did that really well. Like, they could write hooks.
They could definitely write hooks. They could write something like Vermilion Part 2. It's an acoustic track. And it is also chock full of emotion. And then you listen to the All Hope Is Gone album. And you have... It's just always been so cool to me to be able to hear a wide swath of what they're into and what they like to play and record, even though it doesn't always simply fit in this like thrashy box or something like that. But then I think what just kept pushing my kind of listening palette for the whole metal genre was kind of falling out of it for a little bit. I got way deeper into the jazz side of things in college, and was exploring more of those sounds, going back to listen through all the Weather Report stuff.
But don't you think it like scratches that same itch though?
It does. Yeah, and that's kind of where I wanted to go with it, because it drastically different tonalities, but very similar idea of controlled chaos, like what you were saying. Maybe there's different voicings of the chords, but you still have that whole like if you listen to any of like the more modern like Japanese based jazz music, or even those really cool like fusion anime theme songs and stuff, there's a lot of that, and it's executed really well. Or one of my favorite examples is the intro for Mario Kart 8. It's wild and it's chaotic, but it's also jazzy.
Yeah.
Just like Slipknot, minus the jazzy part, I guess.
Or even in the realm of metal, like I think of a Periphery, like there's a lot of jazzy things happening there. I mean, granted, they have their metal tracks. Like nobody's gonna call Blood Eagle jazzy, but
somebody could.
Well, maybe. I mean, but it's just, it scratches that same spot. Like I can get the same enjoyment out of an insanely heavy, well executed metal record that I could from like listening to Snarky Puppy.
For
like
sure.
It does the same thing for my brain.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I fully back that. And I think that's a connection that I felt but hadn't articulated in that kind of way before. But yeah, I equally enjoy both sides of those spectrums, most likely because they are so similar. And then you hear, you know, the Chons or the Polyphias, where it feels like a more in-your-face marriage of those two worlds. And I'm so for it.
Yeah, like now you're just stretching and showing off borrowed chords. Like
exactly. And let's just cut away from this super gnarly stuff and do a little like kind of Latin fusion vibe here for a hot second.
And I think you see it in the crowds too when you go see those shows live. I mean, there's definitely crossover, and there's people who are there for like the metal portion of it, but it's like almost, and I guess in some aspects it could be over intellectualized, but that genre of music, if you go to an Animals as Leaders show, like if you watch the crowd, everybody's like hyper analyzing, like
Right.
You wonder how many theory majors are in the room, like just because it's like massaging their brain in an interesting way. And not to say that somebody who doesn't understand on that level couldn't enjoy it. They absolutely could. But I think it's interesting that want for complex music is still there. And I think it even kind of worked its way into pop music as well.
Yeah.
Like some Bruno Mars charts are kind of spicy.
Yeah. And that's a whole just world of craftsmanship and like really understanding the art well, I think, to be able to present it digestibly to the masses, but keep those brain teasing parts for the intellectual side to appreciate, you know. Another group that I think does it really well is Owain. I think I may have shown you one of their tracks a while ago. They have
What is it?
they have a track, Groove of Satan, but it's this like really cool, lush, melodic metal track, but then a saxophone solo.
You have not shown me this.
No? Right here? That's That's that lick that I lifted and put in the song. Yep, this is exactly what I was referencing to when I said that.
I gotta save that.
Yeah, Owain is killer.
That sounds like when I tossed out Gem as a recommendation. That sounds like that same kind of trio, hyper jazz vibe. Mm-hmm. What's that even called?
I don't know what you call half of the genres these days.
I mean, it's fusion, it's jazz, it's I don't know,
tones of metal. I have no idea what you call it.
I'm okay with it not having.
Is it jazz but spelled DJAZZ?
Jazz.
The jazz. Hey, did you ever go through the dubstep phase? Did you ever get heavy into it?
No, I wasn't heavy into it. I had a buddy who was, and I like always picked his brain to be like, how do you do it? Because he was actually a pretty well-known DJ. Mm-hmm. Like, he got pretty big doing it. And I was like, how do you do this, man?
Was he using, like, Massive inside of Ableton or something? I mean, there's so many workflows for it, obviously.
He's a Pro Tools guy.
Pro Tools guy, hey.
But I don't know how he made all of it work. I mean, so much of that was just a complete mystery to me. But, I mean, I listened to it and could appreciate it, but, like, I think that was right around the part where I'm, like, realizing I'm getting older. I'm like, I can't be good at everything. I'm just going to back away from this. Like,
it's like that. Have you seen the Key and Peele where he's listening to it in the apartment? Every time it starts going, his nose, like, starts
bleeding. Yeah. They need to bring that show back. I love that show.
It's very good. Sometimes I'll just turn on the TV. You know how they have, like, the free channels and stuff. And every once in a while, I'll just automatically load, like, a Key and Peele marathon. I was like, well, this is what my dogs are watching while I'm gone. Mm-hmm. But right now, they're watching Family Feud.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, the Steve Harvey Family Feud.
Okay.
So it's a good time.
That's good.
Yeah. No Key and Peele, but... what's the new hip movement in genre these days? I don't even know.
The hip movement?
Yeah, like... Not like you're shaking your hips, but like... What's the lit thing these days?
I feel like every genre of music has their own thing. And what is interesting is when you kind of take a step back and look at like the rappers that come through here or the pop artists that come through, like they have so much in common. Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously there's outliers, but I think the one thing we can all get behind is that nobody likes mumble rap.
Well, speak for yourself. 4 a.m. just getting started.
That's just a rant for my own thing.
No, it would be cool. Okay, for a lot of rap, if the beat is fire, then I'll enjoy it. And that's not a knock against lyricism. There are lyricists in the hip hop and rap world that I absolutely love.
For sure.
And respect. They could be doing a cappella and I'll still get down to it.
Oh, yeah.
But if it's mumble rap and you have no idea what they're saying, if the beat's fire and it makes you bop your head, I'm probably not going to hit next. However, it's tough when all the mumbles are just triplets for every tune. It's like, man, it hits. It's hard, but it's the same thing. But I don't know. Say the same thing about pop punk, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know,
that's my old man coming out. Sorry.
No, that's why I was asking. Like, I want to know. So J-pop and K-pop got pretty huge on the west side of things, like in the West. But that's been what? Almost 10 years in the making now, right? So
you're probably more tapped into this than I am. If I live in a hole and just record, but like, I see it on the front lines.
The younger kids that I teach, I say younger, like high school age kids that I teach, they're all about Ariana Grande, like wearing Ariana Grande shirts and stuff around, which I have respect for. Ariana makes some cool music.
I wouldn't expect that to be like. I mean, I like Ariana Grande too, but. She seems like she's been around for a minute, though.
Exactly. That's why I'm kind of scratching my head thinking, like, if we had to predict the next big wave in the music scene, akin to how dubstep took over for a handful of years, how the different iterations of rap took over and hip-hop took over, what do you think the next thing would be?
I don't know. I think and this may just be a bias that I'm like self-confirming, but it seems like it's coming back to more instrumental driven stuff. Not to say like instrumental music, but like as opposed to rap, which I think will be around forever. Like completely valid art form, but it's kind of taken a front seat as opposed to like, well, kids want to be rappers or vocalists as opposed to like playing guitar or drums. And like at least I see a lot more younger kids wanting to pick that stuff up. I hope so. I hope it goes that way.
Yeah,
that could just be by bias.
What do you think fuels that? Assuming that is what's going on, my mind immediately jumps to like John Mayer or somebody in that same role, even Taylor Swift, right? Like singer-songwriters, but also playing the instrument.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of that plays into the desire for the upcoming generation to invest time into learning instruments instead of trying to be in the limelight as a vocalist of some sort. Because I remember like the peers of mine when I was in middle school and high school, if they had a desire to be doing something in front of a crowd, a lot of the times the people with the strongest desires were wanting to be the vocalist of some sort or write raps or anything like that. It was rare that I met somebody that wanted to be the next biggest and best drummer or bass player.
Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to be a great bass player. I don't know what I hit my head as a kid or something. I don't know what happened, but
I don't know. I mean, even looking at like Polyphia and seeing what Tim Henson's doing, and like a guitar player who doesn't. I mean, maybe he sings. I don't know, but taking feature spots on rap records, playing guitar.
Oh man,
like that's interesting. That's an interesting part of the industry, and I think that's why there might be some hope for that coming back. And I mean, like him or not, or like that Polyphia sound or not, like that dude is doing so much for that side of the industry, like marrying that kind of hip hop thing with actual instruments and then executing it too. God tier levels. Like it's so I don't know. I mean, stuff like that, like seeing a true virtuoso that kids can actually relate to. I say kids, God, I feel old. But like people, somebody could look up to and be like, well, they're not like these old dudes who have been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Like that may be hard to relate to. Like as good as John Petrucci is, I can't see my 4-year-old looking at him being like, I don't want to be like him.
Yeah.
I would think that was dope, but I could much more see him relating to somebody more his age.
For sure.
And there's so many killer players on like Instagram, which we've talked about already. Like, is it real or not? But I don't know. It seems like that is coming back in some fashion.
I think that's I don't know, a cool insight and a cool place to be in music where you can go and be featured on a track as an instrumentalist.
Yeah.
I feel like there used to be a lot more of that. At least in the jazz realm. I mean, there's so many
not
different
crossing genres. I don't feel like
that's fair. Yeah,
because I mean, on like especially metal, jazz records and metal records where you'd have like people from different bands play on each other's records, but to have like a Tim Henson who's a metal guitar player,
that's true,
play on a rap record as a feature.
Like, I guess the one thing that sticks in my mind was it Smooth Criminal that had like the Van Halen guitars on it. There was one of Michael Jackson's songs. Yeah. There's a whole like folklore story about it. But now I need to look it up so I don't spread misinformation. I could be wrong about the song.
Calling you out?
Beat It. It was Beat It.
Okay.
Had Eddie Van Halen did the guitar solo on Beat It.
Huh.
Yeah. And I guess the story was
is that like common knowledge? Because I don't think I knew that.
I don't know how common knowledge it is. I just remember hearing...
Yeah, song by Eddie Van Halen. Wow.
I just remember hearing the story of Jackson was in the studios, and I don't remember if Eddie was planned to play it or he just happened to be in the same studio that day. But I think what ended up happening is historically Michael Jackson was very particular about the production side of everything. And at one point he had left the room and Eddie just like started soloing over everything or whatever. And then Michael Jackson came back and he loved it, which, I don't know, anticlimactic story. But I guess the idea was the one time that he let go of the reins on accident because he stepped outside was when he got the result that he won for that song.
Interesting.
But
now my world's turned upside down. I feel like that's a fact I should have known.
It's a weird fact, but that's what I thought of when we talked about cross genre, just like instrumental features. Now I don't know if Eddie was credited on the album for the solo.
He is now.
Well, I'm sure now. Yeah,
his name pops up first as the songwriter.
Interesting.
Like I mean, that's why I'm like, how out there is this? Like, 'cause I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, but you don't see anything like Freddie Hubbard on an Eagles album or something like that. That would be interesting to see more of, though. More of these cross-genre features. And I wonder if we will see the music industry going in that way, with kind of the monopoly of different labels, because it would behoove them to do that, as like if you're on the management team or something. Are we going to see a Taylor Swift featuring Tim Henson collab soon?
That would be dope.
That'd be very dope. Probably. I mean, I don't know.
Man, we got down a metal rabbit hole, didn't we?
We did.
That's all right.
What's a crossover you would want to see? If you could, like all jokes aside, it could be the same genre, it could be a combination. What? Let's do it this way. What band and what individual, either instrumentalist or artist, with that band?
Oh.
And it could be any genre, it could be anything.
Okay. Oh man, what's his name?
This is your fantasy draft pick here.
I want the drummer from the Snarky Puppy, the We Like It Here record. What was his name?
I don't remember the drummer's name.
Let me find it real quick.
That's the one with Lingus on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, a quick side tangent about that. If you haven't seen
Larnell Lewis,
that's his name. Yeah. I was gonna say, if you haven't seen the We Like It Here, YouTube has the live recordings and videos. What was the vocalist's name? Layla Hathaway.
Layla Hathaway.
Yeah. What's the song title for that one?
Something.
Just something.
Family Dinner. It's in the Family Dinner Volume 1. This more stripped down
so
stuff.
it wasn't We Like It Here. It was the Family Dinner
Yeah.
one. Yeah. All in all, if you haven't checked that out, Layla Hathaway is a guest vocalist for the song Something, and she can do polyphonic singing. She can sing chords at the same time, and it is not just doing a quick like fifth harmony with herself, but they're like complex chords.
Yeah, she can change the third in the chord.
Yeah.
And like that blew everybody. There's a moment in that video where like the drummer gets up and runs away. Because it's like, what just happened?
It's mind-boggling. It's so cool. Band Dream Team.
Okay, I'm trying to look up this dude's name because I never remember it. Yeah, how do you say that? Eldar Jangarov?
Jangarov, maybe?
Jangarov?
Eldar. That's a cool
Jangarov.
name.
Him, Larnell Lewis, and then probably like the rest of the rhythm section from the Fearless Flyers.
Oh, man. Ooh, coming out strong. All instrumental?
Ooh, now I gotta think of a vocalist.
You don't have to. I mean, if you want to be instrumental.
I'd want to hear that instrumental record, but yeah, that would.
Oh man, that would be something.
You'd need some charisma up front if there was a vocalist for that.
Yeah,
that'd be spicy.
Oh man, I asked you the question, but I had no thought into it at all. Don't know what direction I'd want to go, because there's so many jazz cats that I'd love to see working together or have already worked together.
Yeah, for all we know, all my guys have already worked together.
Possibly. I don't know. Man. I feel like Corey Wong's worked with everybody.
Yeah.
Same with Joe Dart.
Yeah. But the Corey Wong, what's the other guy's name?
Corey Wong, Joe Dart, Nate Smith.
Cody Fry.
Oh, Cody Fry. Gotcha.
Like those few songs together, the Cody Fry, Corey Wong stuff is masterpiece. They sound so good. The song Better and then the other one, I don't know. They're so good.
If I had to pick a vocalist for your Dream Team group, it would probably be Theo Katzman.
Katzman.
He's
Why does that sound so familiar?
He did a lot of the Wolfpack stuff. You may have heard some of his originals under Theo Katzman. Plain Jane Heroin is a pretty big tune. You Could Be President.
Oh yeah.
But he's one of my just favorite vocalists and guitar players, just in general. But he did a lot of work with Wolfpack, and I think that he would be a fitting add to your Dream Team group over there.
But Eldar would be the one to throw like the wrench in the whole thing. 'Cause he seems like all those cats are good players, but he's like, I don't know how to conceptualize what he's playing. Like he can think in so many different layers. He reminds me of. I keep going down weird rabbit holes.
No, please keep going.
Sorry. I think this was actually going to be my album pick.
Yeah.
Oh, Tigran Hamishen. I don't know how to say it.
I don't know how to say it either, but
You know who I'm talking about? Oh, this is a full concert.
that wasn't him with Hiatus Coyote, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to go back and watch all that then.
So this is him with like a trio. So like again, like scratching that same metal.
I was going to say, that is a perfect example of how metal and jazz are kind of the same thing at a certain level. It's just like one of them has the metal zone pedal turned on and one of them doesn't.
One of them doesn't. One of them's played on 88 strings. Well, no, way more than that. Piano has like 3 in multiple places.
Yeah.
I don't know how many strings are on a piano, but a lot more than a guitar.
A lot more than well, maybe the guitar you're playing.
But even that kind of stuff, like there's so much polyrhythm push pull that it's like I don't think it's meant to be fully understood, or like the want of me, and you mentioned this before, where you stop enjoying music at a certain point and you want to like analyze it, and
Right.
so I think I latch on to those like hyper complex things to where I can just, like in a bad movie, just like suspend disbelief for a moment, just be like, just enjoy this moment.
Right.
And it's just complex enough to where I'm like confused. So I can't latch on to like, these are the tropes going on in here, or like cliche moments. But yeah, I've never actually like thought about it like that, but
That's a cool group. I might have cut it out, but you were looking through what Tigray is his name?
Tigran.
Oh, Tigran. Oh
Tigran
yeah, Tigran
Hamasyan. Yeah, I don't know.
I am for sure pulling up the video with Hiatus Coyote and checking that out.
Oh, it's on my face. I don't have product focus turned on. Whatever, you'll find it.
I got to see Hiatus Coyote. I might have brought this up on the podcast already. I can't remember. But last summer.
I don't think I knew you saw Hiatus Coyote live.
Yeah.
That's wild to listen to. I can't imagine what it would be to watch.
Phenomenal. And it was extra special because they were just throwing solos around. They're just like pointing, like, all right, you go now. And so there was such a huge improvisational element to their already really complex and well put together presentation of their songs.
How do they? I guess so. Seeing it live, how do they latch on to it? Because even like the simplest form of finding one,
Yeah.
at listening to Hiatus Coyote's like, okay, hang on. And like it's one of those like you have to really focus in.
And everything, the pocket is so deep that it doesn't align with where you think one is going to be.
Yeah. Did you see them doing anything, or they're
nothing out of the ordinary? I mean, I'm sure
ballers.
If they play with a click, then I'm sure they all have it in their ear.
Yeah.
And when I saw them, they had a pretty stacked crew. So
Okay.
every element got what seemed like live representation. There could have been a few tracks of textural background things. I'm not sure, but as far as the multiple voices, like singing the harmonies and stuff, they had different singers there, tons of instrumentalists on stage and stuff. So as far as staying tight, though, I think they're just all really good. I don't think there's another explanation. Did you watch their Tiny Desk?
No. No, I don't really get sad at moments like that. Like, I should practice more. Like,
their Tiny Desk is very much worth watching. I believe they recorded it themselves because it was when everything was shut down. But there's all these weird, like, they look like they're just like big animal statue things, and just like dispersed around the room. And then you'll get to like the third song of the performance, and all of a sudden this like giraffe looking thing just stands up and grabs a saxophone and starts playing. And they're actually just people dressed up in these costumes.
That's
just
exactly
sitting still.
what I expected.
Yeah. It's really, really good. Her voice is so entrancing, and kind of the vocal style is one of the more unique vocal styles that I think I've heard in quite some time.
Like, I wonder how their songwriting sessions work. Like, are some of the melodies, or does she just weave it in and out of all that stuff?
I have no idea.
Like, because it's so, you can get heady with it, but I'm sure that's not their approach at the moment. Like, I wonder if the headiness comes from like trying to break it down and understand it, but they're just on a whole other level.
Yeah, it's definitely a chicken and the egg situation. Like, are the really intricate rhythms the starting point? Does that just happen because of the way that the, bassist and drummer work together? The chord structure, is it intentional? Are these weird voicings because you have some of a roadmap and then you just have embellishments, or is it all pre-planned out? Like, I have no idea, but whatever they're doing, there hasn't been anything that they've come out with that I would want to skip.
No. And if you're still with us, this is your reminder to go listen to Hiatus Coyote.
Definitely.
This is down a deep rabbit hole, probably. This is the realm of music. If you get there, if this were YouTube, you'd be like, I need to back away.
It's like when you fall asleep with the TV on, and you wake up and you're just confused by everything that's on.
It's slightly staticky. There's colors you haven't seen before. That's Hiatus Coyote.
That's Hiatus Coyote. But it's pleasant.
It is. I don't want to say it's bad.
No, I would argue that it's incredibly good. But it is one of those musical tastes where you either love it or you just don't get it, I think.
Yeah. But I think it goes right back to that point where it's reaching out and trying to find those portions of music that you don't understand. As you're saying, hyperanalyzing music, which is so easy to do with like a normal run-of-the-mill pop track, or so many things that come through recording studios. So it's like, when you've done it for so long, you don't really listen to typical music for enjoyment, I think. And I don't think I speak for everyone, but I think I speak for a fair amount of people, at least the ones I've talked to. Like, we don't really listen to music in our fun time.
No.
But, I mean, you still latch onto those groups that you know and love. But when you really want to get that, like, feeling of discovery, you have to go to the depths.
You really do. I mean, and I think that's a fairly universal experience for a lot of musicians, at least, or people working in the musical realm of some sort. And it's probably the same with art. It's probably the same with cinematography. Whatever your respective area of artistry lies, I'm sure that you get to a point where you know enough to realize the smaller aspects that make you not like something or not enjoy it fully. That's a weird place to be.
You're just like continuing to challenge yourself a little bit. That's an interesting thought. I don't think I've ever tried to put a finger on what that actually is or why I find enjoyment in that side of things. Because I listened to try to show it to my wife, and she's like, "What is this?" Pardon?
Well, and I, man, it's like where that saying "ignorance is bliss" comes from. That's what it feels like. Because I can't draw a stick figure. But dude, I will go down so many just like doom scrolling rabbit holes of these Instagram pages of like pencil artists where it's like, have you ever seen the ones where is this a photo or is it a drawing? Mind blowing. I have zero idea how they do any of it. But I think I enjoy it to a heightened level because I don't know anything about it. And then with music, I don't know everything. I don't think anybody knows everything about it, but I know enough to where I like we keep saying, I get caught up in analyzing or thinking like, oh, I wonder how they got that tone on the guitar or the bass, or, you know, all the smaller things are like, that's really cool, but I don't like the tail on that reverb right there. You know, those small things. Have you listened to the new Post Malone album yet?
No, I don't think I've listened to any Post Malone, actually.
Really?
Not out of trying to avoid him. I just haven't.
I think Post Malone is one of the most mainstream artists that I can thoroughly enjoy and sit down and listen to. And that whole genre I have respect for, but it's not normally my cup of tea for just personal enjoyment. But his new album, man, I really get into it. And even on like a lyrical side of things, it feels super raw if you just kind of digest what he's saying. And at that level, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on and, you know, think that he's just pandering to the audience, maybe. I don't know. You know, Taylor Swift could be doing the same thing. Maybe she hasn't had 400 different boyfriends that broke her heart. Maybe she has. I don't know. But I don't know. Just part of the discussion of the modern music coming out and trying to dig deeper to find stuff that you really enjoy. I was pleasantly surprised to listen. Every time a Posty album comes out, I listen through it. I'm like, oh, I'm going to listen to that again. It was a good time.
Well, when I do listen to the radio, like it's not as bleak as a lot of people say. And I don't want to, I hope this whole conversation does not sound like dumping on music at all. That's more about like, how do you hit the reset button in your own mind when it comes to music?
That's exactly it. That's a good distinction to make.
Yeah, it's not that I'm dissatisfied with music. That's not it at all. But when I do listen to the radio, because you hear a lot of people complain, like, pick an artist. I mean, 10 years ago, it was Lady Gaga. Nobody liked Lady. It was like popular to hate on Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Or hate on Nickelback. There's always somebody that's popular to hate on. But like, you really dive in and listen. Like,
do you dive in with arms wide open?
It's a song reference. But I don't know. I mean, I think in general, there's good music being made. There's also pandering music being made.
But there always has been.
There always has been. And I mean, you're making music for the people who consume it. So regardless of your distaste for it, there's a subsect of people who want to be pandered to in that way. And maybe they don't even see it as pandering. Like, that's their taste in music. I
mean, it's their business. I have no hate for that either. But I think, and I know that I'm pulling away from a point that you were about to make, so I'm sorry. But I think going back to Hiatus Coyote, Polyphia, all these things that as an intellectual in music, I find myself enjoying more, even though it seems less digestible to most people that don't know much about music. I think that there is...
Although Polyphia, I think, is part of their appeal is that they are complex yet digestible. But anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that. But my point is, I think that a big chunk of that is what we've been saying, that there gets to be these moments where there's a lot going on that makes it too difficult to get lost in analyzing. Therefore, you can just be stuck enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I think there's this other aspect of, this is so different that they must be making it because they like it and that's what they want to hear. And it makes me appreciate it that much more.
Do you have an example of that?
Just... like I said, any of the Hiatus Coyote stuff, any of the Polyphia stuff, it's treading new territory. And you can make the argument that they keep making similar things because it worked, which then turns it into pandering, which maybe, I don't know these guys. It could be something like that. But it still feels, just like going all the way back to we were talking about Slipknot. Their sound has changed over the years, they're still the same group making similar stylistic choicings of music, but they're exploring it in different ways, which makes me as a listener feel like they're still making what they want to be hearing and what they want to be creating, instead of pulling out the checklist of, did we do these things here to make it sound like this last album that we made,
Well, we even saw that at the Styx concert. Like, there's a fair amount of people in that crowd who want to hear the old songs exactly the same way. And I think there's, even with something like a Slipknot, there's or just related to some, I mean, is Slipknot still making records? Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I can see it in something like Periphery, because that's what I listen to a lot, but there's people who will critique a record like that because they don't sound like their first record. Like, their musical taste is growing and changing, but the fan, like that hypothetical fan that exists, want this one thing that they did, and they want to do that forever. And that's hard to take music at this like evolving moment, because there's even bands that I like and I don't listen to their latest work.
Yeah.
Like, I love Circus Survive, but I'm stuck on these few records.
Yeah.
Like, there's a fear there. You don't want to listen to newer stuff because you like the old stuff so much, so it's weird.
I totally understand the perspective of like, oh, I don't like this one because it didn't sound like the last one, and I love the last one. I really try hard not to embody that feeling, but there are similar situations for me, like Hybrid Theory / Reanimation, the Linkin Park albums. That Reanimation was my entry point. I bring up Hybrid Theory because Reanimation is the same album basically, but it's been where they've had like DJs come in and guest artists and stuff for that one. And so for a long time, I didn't listen to Minutes to Midnight and some of the later Linkin Park stuff because I was so stuck on what I was introduced. Then years later, I go back and was like, oh no, this is like, I could see that they had all grown together, and as musicians at the time, I probably wouldn't have appreciated that. But then I go to Avenged Sevenfold is a really good example. One of my favorite albums of theirs is Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, which is probably the least polished, least thought out, like just grungy, kind of thrashy recordings of all that I can find of their stuff. But I also really like watching how they kept pushing themselves and changing their aesthetic and the sound through Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. And then they had their self-titled album, and then so on and so forth. But then they had a new one come out this year. Have you listened to that? We're going to have to check out a couple tracks after this.
I've never gotten into them.
Well, their newest album, no spoilers, is not one to get you into them. Now, I say this not because I hate on Avenged Sevenfold. I love all their older work, like I just said. And I have mad respect for them pushing themselves and trying new things, even having the kind of clout and position where, they're in a spot where if they let down people, they're letting down a lot of people. Like, it's a huge fan base, right? So they could very well make good career moves to pander to the audience and to recreate the exact same stuff they've done before. So I have a lot of respect that they didn't do that. And they tried a lot of different things on the new album. I don't like it. I don't think there's a single track on that album that I want to listen all the way through again.
Oh, wow.
And that's my personal preference.
Yeah.
That's okay. Some people might love it. I'm not trying to hate on it. I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to say that's exactly what I would want that band and all the bands to do. Not to make songs that I don't like, but to keep pushing themselves, try out new things, see what kind of creativity that they can draw upon that is not just the same as what they just made.
Yeah. Well, one band, I guess, kind of like that, maybe in the same vein, like Bring Me the Horizon. They're, how many times have they reinvented themselves? And like, they were touted as like the forefront of metal, and then they kind of went pop, and now they're like kind of both. And it's like,
and I like it.
Yeah, and they've topped all these different charts, and I'm like, how do you keep doing this? Like, but that's just an exercise in, hey, you're not going to put me in a box. And I don't know, maybe they're making, I don't want to I guess, assume motive, but like they could be making the music that they know and love and they want to make, or they could be making it for sales and following the market. Either way,
Yeah.
they've figured something out.
I mean, that's why my group and I were doing heavier stuff, because it's what we're into right now. A couple albums ago, we were doing indie bedroom psychedelic stuff because that's what we were into. The next album might be
Elder emo.
It could be. Tickle me elder emo. So this episode has almost all been a record rec. However,
Yeah.
let's do some legitimate record recs here to finish things off.
Well, I was gonna do the Tigran. I'm not gonna say it right. This one, the Tigran Hamishen.
Yeah, I'll throw
It's not gonna get
I'll
it.
throw the album up there.
That one, the mock root, I think. And then,
I want to try his name real quick. Let's see, Tigran Hamasyan.
Hamashan. I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know either.
But the song entertained me.
It's
so
prog,
good.
but jazz.
So good.
Jazz prog.
Praz.
Yeah, jog.
That's nice jogging music, right?
Nice jog. Well, it probably is, really.
Yeah.
Another real fast tangent. If you are in the gym or anything, music or no music, music that is background and like easily just like
No, I know where you're going. Depends. So I listen to Hiatus Coyote.
some good spoonerisms.
Hiatus Coyote, like if I'm just doing something and I want to zone out or something along those lines. But I can show you literally the song. Yeah, it's this.
Oh, so that one is Blood Eagle. Yeah, I was like, I know this song.
Blood Eagle.
The fellows in my band, we have a shared playlist on Spotify that's just the most brutal metal that we can find. Let me show you my Get Pumped song of choice real quick.
I should listen to a lot of Cody Fry in the gym too.
Oh yeah, I have a hard time listening to anything that's like easy listening of any kind.
A lot of Pliny.
Yes, I do love Pliny in the gym, and Rabia. And that's my whole, like, there are some days where it's much closer to, I keep bringing them up, like Explosions in the Sky playlist.
Yeah.
Just instrumental post-rock stuff. So, my recommendation for this episode is a fellow, or really group of fellows that you and I both know, but Bobby Marone.
Ooh.
And I just listened to his album again within the last couple days because I saw that he and the boys were out doing some live shows again. And I thought, I haven't listened to this album in a hot minute. So I pulled it up, and it's just a culmination of so much of my favorite stuff. It's like if you were to take a melting pot or what are those things called where you like grind
fondue?
stuff up?
Oh, like
Where are those little...
mortar and pestle?
Yeah, mortar and pestle. So you get a mortar and pestle, and you put in John Mayer, and you put in Theo Katzman, you put in Wolfpack, and then you sprinkle in a little bit of... Who's the Banana Pancakes guy?
I don't know.
You know him. Acoustic singer-songwriter. Jack Johnson. You put some Jack Johnson in there. And it makes Bobby Marone.
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. It's
Smooth AF.
super smooth, great lyrical content, incredible instrumental content as well. His album Lonely Street is the one that I was listening through the other day. I've always loved Whiskey and Water, but I caught myself just listening through the whole thing, and I heard a song repeat, and I was like, oh, I guess I listened to this whole album. Check out Bobby Marone. It's a good time. Good people. We explored many rabbit trails today.
We did. This is a different one.
Lots of metal rabbit trails. It's really just the record rec episode, but
And a lot of yaz.
a lot of yaz, a lot of jog. Thanks for hanging out with us. for checking out Phantom Power Hour. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button.
Be sure to put your obscure references down in the comments below.
I want to help us find new music, first of all. That would be honestly incredibly appreciated. It's so hard for me to find something new that I really love. Not because I think that a bunch of music sucks. It's just because there's so much out there that I have a hard time finding new stuff that
You always
resonates.
want more.
Yeah.
Consider this your music stockpile. Put it down below.
Down below. And if you're feeling like it, the Music Dream Team as well. What band do you want to see made up of a bunch of different musicians?
Yeah.
But with all that, until next time, I'm Josh.
I'm Jeremy.
See ya.